This cave is responsible for the death of thousands of people every year. Thousands step in, but only a few are left alive to tell of their experience. It is 100% certain. If you venture far enough, you are never coming out. The jaws of the cave clamp shut, swallowing you whole, ensuring that you are never seen again. Despite the countless regulations and warnings around the area, it is almost irresistible to some. Many have met their untimely death here.
I wouldn't be surprised to find a body passed out.
In fact, chances are if you find yourself in the wrong place, you are just a few feet away from a decomposing person.
Dude, there was like 4 turnoffs already where someone could have got stuck or lost or stuff. Like, do you fall down one of those ravines? How often are you looking down and like checking the whole ravine? You could pass like 60 bodies already. There could be a body right there. He's like 5 feet from us. It's stuck in a crack.
Let's take a look at one of the horrors that is taking place here. The first recorded victim of this cave, Floyd Collins, a well-renowned caver. In fact, that was his job and how he earned his living. On the 8th of January, he was finishing up his work for the day when his lamp began to flicker. This was serious because the dangers of losing your light in this cave is the death penalty. The darkness evolves into a presence. A living, breathing entity with a hunger that is insatiable. The darkness overwhelms you. It swallows you whole, like a beast more than anxious to claim its next victim. Floyd knew that if he stayed any longer, it's over with. And in a desperate panic to leave, he drops his lamp in a tight section of the cave, and in his quest to retrieve it, a large boulder was dislodged and pinned against his legs. He struggled to free himself, but it was impossible. The worst part about this is he was alone, in the dark, and no one knew he was out there. In this cave, the air is still as though it is holding its breath, nervously anticipating for you to lose your light so that it can claim you. Make no mistake, because in this cave, once your source of light is gone, so is your life. Collins was left to battle his fate alone, and each struggle brought down a cascade of more sediments and debris upon him. It was as if the cave sought to claim him, to bury him alive underneath a gravestone of rubble and despair. His family began to worry the night that he did not make it home. They immediately knew that something was wrong and commenced a search party the next morning. And luckily for Floyd, he was found, but that's not all. You see, prior to him entering the cave, he placed his jacket over a tree branch that was next to the cave, and this was the hint that enabled the search party to focus their attention towards the cave. And even though he was found, no one could help due to the precarious position that he was in. All they could do was to bring him food and water, a kind gesture to prolong his pain and suffering. Those who went into the cave's throat to reach Floyd emerged shaken with tremor after having confronted their own fear, which was the darkness that overwhelmed you. His entrapment became a spectacle. This was the #1 story in the nation, and on the 8th of February alone, there were over 10,000 new visitors who arrived to witness this dramatic rescue. It took 17 days to get to him, but by that time, it was already too late.
Sweet chariot, coming for to carry me.
But things don't end here. Actually, this is just the beginning of a story that refuses to be buried. After Collins' death, the cave ended up being sold, and the new owners decided that it will be a lucrative idea to unearth Collins' remains and have it displayed for some cash. Visitors were charged an entry fee to come into the cave, and an additional charge was given to view what remained of him. In death, Collins found no peace. His resting place became a chamber of exploitation, his body exhumed and displayed. Later, someone else broke into the cave and stole what remained of him. It took 6 years for his family to retrieve his body. Rachel Cox, a high school student who was exploring the Wind Cave with her classmates and got lost. She was left behind, forgotten by her peers and teachers, and worst of all, the batteries to her headlamp went out. If you think the case of Floyd Collins is terrifying, brace yourself, because we'll be diving into some of the most bone-chilling cave experiences. So, What is it like being in a cave? Well, it's like stepping into a new world, a realm where time and the rules of the surface no longer applies. The moment you cross this threshold, the air changes. The walls feel like an ancient stone that holds within it the earth's dormant secrets in the pages of its diary, written in the languages of stalactites and stalagmites, and each formation is like the earth slowly trying to come together to have a conversation with itself. And as you venture deeper, the darkness becomes alive, casting illusions on the surface of your retinas, and in a desperate attempt to conjure the meaning of all of this, your eyes begin to play tricks on you, painting phantoms onto the walls of the cave. The cave turns into an orchestra with a symphony of subtle sounds, the distant drip of water like a haunting melody, the shift of rock, the quiet whisper of air moving through unseen passages. You too are part of that orchestra, and each step that you take is an unfamiliar note that stands out and calls out attention to yourself, reminding you that in the grand scheme of things, you are an intruder. The air is thick with the earth's musk, a fragrance of mineral and moisture, a scent that seeps into your clothes, skin, and bones, as though the earth is slowly trying to claim you, to absorb you, blurring the fine line that exists between being lost and found. It will see to it that you are never seen again. Navigating this cave is like wandering through a titan's belly. Each turn leads you further into its guts. Everything about the cave is built to alter your perception of reality. This is the most deceitful place on the planet. It feels like the very essence of this cave is built to mock the very idea of direction. Trying to map out this cave is like holding a dance with madness right at your fingertips. Every line that you draw with your pen, every mark on your paper feels like you are trying to lead a dance that has no rhythm, no time, and no end. It's as if the cave is spinning around you, one step ahead, leaving you lost in its endless twirl with insanity. Your sense of direction loses its meaning, and your compass spins in a ballet of confusion. Each turn is a masterful illusion, every drop a sleight of hand, a trick by our own planet to disarm all of your senses, leaving you with nothing but darkness. This is a three-dimensional maze that is crafted by nature to distort reality. Its narrow, winding passages leads to everywhere and yet nowhere. People have been recorded going into this cave and losing their way only to emerge in a random tunnel weeks later. Let us step further into this cave. No matter how long you spend in the darkness, your eyes will never adjust. The Mammoth Cave being the largest cave system in the world, out of 1,000 miles, only 400 miles have been explored. Over 60% of the cave is no man's land. Entering the cave is like traversing the fine line that exists between a new discovery and disappearance. It's a place where hundreds, perhaps thousands have vanished, slipped through the cracks of our world into its shadowy embrace, swallowed whole by the earth's insatiable appetite. Imagine walking through this cave and finding strangers stuck in hidden rooms. This is what happens here. Explorers often wander into other lost souls, trapped in tight spots for days, possibly weeks, just as surprised to see one another.
There's people stuck in here.
Where are you hiding? Where are you hiding?
There are literally people trapped right now.
That's some distant talk. I thought we brought enough, but we've been in here since like...
Oh man, this is crazy.
We just saved 4 people stuck in a cave. These guys were lucky enough to be rescued by our crew. They are the only people who have disappeared here.
These people were literally crying.
Tyler's loud talking actually saved lives because they heard him.
This cave is dangerous, sketchy. My claustrophobia is slowly but surely.
Without us randomly showing up there to film a YouTube video, who knows what would have happened to them. There's no way they would have gotten up. If they were not as lucky to have found us at that given moment, what would have happened to them?
Because of where they were, with one flashlight, no backup stuff, serious injury or death would have been the only result.
I wouldn't be surprised to find a body passed out.
A single step into this cave could be your last. A popular YouTuber, Snake Benji, got lost in this cave, and for the past 10 years has not been found. Imagine a world where up is down, left is right, and the next step that you take could be a plunge into oblivion. Countless explorers have met their detrimental fate here, and it could come in all sorts and manners of ways. The walls and the floors are slippery to the touch. A tiny slip can have you tumbling hundreds of feet into your demise. If that doesn't kill you, maybe the darkness will. The thought of being lost here is like a tide that threatens to pull you under. Rachel Cox, a high school student who was exploring the wind cave with her classmates when her headlamp went out. But by that time, her classmates were long gone. In an attempt to retrace her steps, she took the wrong turn, and Rachel is lost. Forever. Without her light, the shadows became a monster, pulling her deep into the darkness like a beast, dragging its prey into the depths of its den. This was the kind of isolation that doesn't just separate you from others, but seems to remove you from reality itself. She was alone, not just physically, but existentially. A dim light of consciousness, adrift in the sea of darkness. The shores of her former life seems as a distant and forgotten dream. She kept pushing, with the hopes that with each step she was moving closer to finding her way back to light. She was more scared than she had ever been. Feeling her way around the cold, wet rocks must have felt like she was tracing her fingertips across the cold, massive heart of a monster. She was feeling her way back to light. Every crack, every bump was teasing her, leading her deeper into the stomach of a beast. It must have felt like a bad dream. A bad dream that refuses to end. Her fight wasn't just against the dark cave. It was against the fear that wanted to take over her mind. I can only imagine the psychological anguish that one placed in this predicament experiences. Your mind becomes a theater where shadows stage their silent plays on the walls. And just when you think the darkness has revealed all, the shadows contort, the curtains open, unveiling new levels of terror. Your heartbeat becomes a lonely drummer in this vast and empty auditorium. Each beat like a countdown to a rescue operation that will never come. The silence of this cave becomes a canvas, and your fear is the brushstrokes that paint a portrait of what it truly means to be isolated. You slowly become one with the shadows, a growing sense that you are fading, dissolving into the darkness that envelopes you. The darkness is alive, a silent observer that watches as your life is slowly stripped away from you. It took 36 hours for Rachel to be found, but not so many are lucky. In the Mammoth Cave, there are 1,000,001 ways to die. Once you are lost, no one is coming to find you. Let's take a look at the case study of Joshua Burgess, a man who wandered off into a tunnel that was only 5 miles wide. A few minutes into his journey, his flashlight died. He was lost in a 5-mile tunnel for exactly 34 days. Now contrast this to the Mammoth Cave, which is over 1,000 miles. Here, once you are lost forever. And once you run out of light, you are trapped in darkness until the end of time. Ultimately, it'll be up to you to choose your fate. You could stay put and starve to death, or you can wander around in darkness and risk plummeting off a cliff 150 feet into the earth's stomach, quenching its appetite. Not only are the walls playing tricks on you, but the floors are porous, flaky. A hard stump in the right place or a loose foot, a miscalculation of your step can result in the ground underneath your feet crumbling, sending you into a free fall into the abyss.
There's a massive free fall right through that crack.
Right.
I'm gonna throw a rock. Oh my God.
One slip, and that could be you going for that ride.
You fall down this, you hit your face, you are so
What a perfect place to fall and never be found again. As the reality of being lost in this cave settles in, it becomes obviously clear that you'll never be found again. You'll disappear forever, becoming one with the earth. You are now part of the cave's legacy, a chapter in its endless story. On the summit of Mount Everest, 2 climbers found a woman alone and dying. She was yelling, "Please don't leave me. but they were forced to continue and to let her die as they had no means to help her and staying would risk their own lives. Click this video to find out what happened.